Pokemon Insurgence is easily one of the hardest Pokemon fan games out there, so today, I've decided to solo run it. And if you didn't already know, Insurgence is no ordinary fan game. It boasts its own new Mega Evolutions and Delta species, while also having an amazing story with unique characters. This will definitely be interesting, so make sure to watch to the end. And without further ado,
let's get ready to rumble!
My desired Pokemon for this solo run is Armored Mewtwo. It's something I've always wanted to use in real gameplay, but couldn't until now. Armored Mewtwo has received a new ability in Pokemon Insurgence, by the name of Hubris. Hubris works exactly like Moxie, but with special attack. But believe it or not, even with all of these factors, this challenge was not even remotely easy. After obtaining my starter from a dealer behind a house, I easily beat the trainers on Route 1 and make my way through to Telnor Cave. Upon arriving at the exit, I meet up with Damien, and we accidentally overhear two cultists plotting to capture the Augur. We both immediately head back to the town hall to warn the Augur. Frustrated that we tainted their plans, the two hiding cultists challenge us to a battle. Mewtwo easily disposes of the cultists' Pokemon, and now you can understand how good Hubris is. After receiving thanks from the Augur, he invites us to meet him in Helios City later on our journey. After healing up, I make my way back through Telnor Cave and onto Route 1. Mewtwo again races through all the trainers there, and we make it to Midna Town. I pick up the leftovers from the house above the Poke Center. In Midna Cave, we find Nora reanimating fossils with her Celebi. I try to grab the mythical Pokemon and make a run for it, but the game forces me to have a conversation instead. We meet Nora again at the Pokemon tournament in the school. I was a bit worried about these battles as Damien's starter has evolved, and Swift is the only move I can use against it. But my fear was unjustified, as only 2 Swifts were needed to knock it out. The next and final battle for the tournament is against Nora. She sends out her Honage first, which is a bit of a problem since we don't have any boosts yet. Luckily for us, Confusion does about a third of its health, and we are able to take it out without losing too much HP. Next comes out Trapinch, which we can easily KO. We almost knock out Quilava with 1 Confusion, but it survives and we need 1 more to finish it off. The teacher awards us with the TM return, which isn't going to be useful unfortunately. But she tells us to go to Sun-Touched City to obtain the first badge, and me make our way to the next route. After defeating some more cultists at the Lucario ruins to save a poor Riolu, we make our way further south to Cyan Cavern. Mewtwo breezes through there, and we reach Sun-Touched City. After grabbing a few potions and repels, I waste no time and head to the first gym on the 2nd level of Sun-Touched. The first gym is where hard mode started to kick in, as Orion's Vulpix already has its hidden ability Drought, and is holding a Heat Rock to elongate the sun. To start the battle, Mewtwo dodges a Hypnosis and hits back with 2 Confusion to quickly gain a Hubris boost from Vulpix. Then he sends out Delta Aaron, which also goes down to 2 more Confusions. As you can see, hard mode also implements a level cap after major battles, which can only be bypassed by rare candies. Luckily, due to the Hubris boosts, everything else on his team is KO'd by single Confusions. And with that, we earn our first badge from Orion, but apparently we're not finished as when we try to leave, Nora tells us to go back in, and we are met by a cultist trying to steal Orion's rock. Reshiram emerges out of his rock and flees, only to come back after the cultist leaves. After all of that randomness, Nora gives us the instant Lapras, which is HM Surf in this game. I heal up and then head south to Route 3, and then Mechi Town. In Mechi Town, Nora shows up again, asking for another battle. She starts off with Honage again, which Mewtwo struggles with as Confusion is resisted, and Nora also decides to heal. Mewtwo is left with just 11 HP points, forcing me to heal up on Quilava. This turned out to be the right thing to do, as Confusion crits the next turn to feint it. Golbot goes down to a single Confusion, while Swadloon and her last Pokemon feint to a few Swifts. This fight actually took about 3 attempts in real time, as I got some bad luck with honage. Further down Mechi Town, I buy a secret base from a Samaritan and purchase the level trainer and nurse from the tablet. This secret base will be useful to level up Mewtwo to the cap without wasting time battling trainers. Heading south again, I surf past Route 4 to enter Vipik City. Climbing up the stairs to the gym, Damien tells us something about Mew and our abilities. I shrug that off and make my way into the second gym. After only one gym trainer and an easy tree puzzle, I find myself already head-to-head with leader Xavier. He starts off with his Delta Matang. I know it has the move Infestation, so I decide to use Future Sight and stall a Super Potion to defeat it. With the Hubris boost, his next 2 Pokemon both faint to single Confusions. I was quite surprised that he already had a Mega, as this was only the second gym. Out comes his Gengar, which is his main threat. One Confusion activates its Focus Sash, and it hits back with a Will-O-Wisp. I anticipate a Hex, so I heal Mewtwo's burn. Hex or not, the next turn Gengar faints to another Confusion. Krogunk usually tends to be quite annoying with Sucker Punch, so I decide to Future Sight and stall heal until it faints. For Tentacruel, I'm forced to use Future Sight as it has Mirror Coat. When it hits, it takes it to its Focus Sash, and I finish the battle off with 2 more Confusions. After earning our badge from Xavier, a messenger outside the gym tells us to go to the dump on the other side of the city because Damien has been captured by cultists. I heal up and make my way over there. Damien is being held hostage by an admin and 2 grunts. They try to forcefully take Mew, but my Mewtwo just wasn't having it. After that semi-catastrophic event, I head east past Karil Town and Rezai Desert. I witness sky cultists harassing a poor hiker for an old scroll, needed to summon Rayquaza. After they head off, I try to leave the cave, but Damien forces me into another battle. Mewtwo takes care of Infernape without too much trouble. And we are able to set up a Future Sight for the incoming Luxray. Luxray is made quick work of because of that, and Crawdaunt luckily faints to 1 Swift. I was anticipating his Dark-type Delta Blastoise to be a problem, but the AI decides to use Nasty Plot instead, and with all the Hubris boosts, Shaman has no chance of winning. After the battle, Damien tells to us to meet him at Helios City to warn the Augur about the Sky Cultists. The Black Market is the only way to get to the Augur, so after a trek through some dark tunnels, we meet him there. Further up the Black Market, Rukra and his assistant yap about perfect Pokemon for a bit, and then he forces us to battle his assistant for info on new Mega evolutions. The battle goes as expected and we win, but I was required to teach Mewtwo Protect so I could use Future Sight more efficiently. I make my way up the stairs to where the Augur is and heal up. Damien meets me and tells Jern, which is the Augur, that the Sky Cultists were planning to ambush him and summon Rayquaza. He dismisses this and reveals that he is the leader of the Sky Cult. Then he orders the gym leader, which is the guy with white hair, to stall and battle us while he starts Rayquaza's summoning. Skarmory comes out first, and you may notice I taught Mewtwo Incinerate just for that reason. With some clever placement of Incinerate and Future Sights, Skarmory faints while we are still on full health. Noivern and the incoming Kingdra also go down to 2 Confusions each. I am forced to heal on Talonflame because of Gale Wings, but he decided to use Swords Dance instead, which is probably just as bad. Luckily, we survive the Brave Bird, and I think it's GG from there, because after that the Hubris boosts just start to pile up. After that easy win, we earn our 3rd badge, and I heal up ready to confront Jern himself. He utters some useless words to me about his ideals with Rayquaza and world domination, but all doesn't matter as we'll beat him here anyways. I also retaught Protect over Incinerate for this battle as it's more useful. Mewtwo starts off with a Future Sight and Rayquaza hits back with a heavy Dragon Ascent. I opt to click Protect to be safe, and then I heal up to survive another one. And then Future Sight takes it out with its reduced defenses. At Utira Town, both Nora and Damien want to battle to test my strength. I decide to choose Nora, as her team is probably a bit easier to work around. Little did I know that this battle wouldn't be as easy as it seemed. She starts off with her Aegislash, and I use a combination of Future Sight and Incinerate to feint it. Mega Flygon comes out next, and we luckily survive Bug Buzz on 9 HP. I actually thought Levani had a Sash in this battle. It didn't, so 1 Incinerate was enough to feint it, and also her mythical Pokemon. Florges can't really do anything to me, so I heal and kill with confusion. And her last Pokemon Crobat isn't a threat at all, so finally we can relax. At Utira Library, we find ourselves an orb in the restricted wing that is supposed to tell the future of the region, but it's guarded by a ghost oracle. She was a pushover, and after beating her, she tells us that one of us will join the infernal cult and betray everyone in the region. Everyone starts arguing and Damien leaves. I also decide to leave before Nora crashes out completely. We then head to the seaside town, Miara. In the museum, we check out the blue orb with a guard, but the Abyssal cult leader just shows up and reveals it's fake and that she has the real one. She also grabs the title bell for Lugia in a secret compartment, and then tells us to meet her in the Whirl Islands for a battle. While we make our way there, Mewtwo finally learns Psychic at level 57, a much-needed upgrade from Confusion. She starts off with a Lantern. I click Substitute because of Toxic, and I guess right. 2 Psychics are enough to feint it, and Substitute still holds up. After the Hubris boost and Miracle Eye, 1 Psychic knocks out Mega Crawdaunt, which could have been a serious problem, but luckily wasn't. Mewtwo outspeeds both Serperior and Swift Swim Ludicolo to knock them out, and Swampert is shown no mercy either. I was worried about Lugia's multi-scale, but since its only attacking move is Ice Beam, there was no problem, and we took it out with a few Psychics. We head on out of there and wake up the sleeping Snorlax on Route 8. But it turns out I'm being hunted, as when we enter the next route, 2 cult leaders are plotting to capture me and are willing to work together on it too. This doesn't concern me one bit though, as I know I've got my trusty Mewtwo by my side. Later past that route, we enter Sonata City, and I head straight to the 4th gym. Unfortunately for us, the 4th gym is where Max IV and EVs are implemented, so it's basically a sweep or get sweeped kind of situation. I'll show the winning battle first, but all I can say is that this battle did not take a short amount of resetting. But here it is. Crustle comes out first, and somehow survives a lucky Psychic crit. She heals, and 1 more is enough to kill with its lowered defenses. 3 Psychics are needed on Sylveon because of its special bulk, and she decides to heal. Azumarill sets up a belly drum, unfortunately, but we get no Aqua Jet from it, so it faints easily. Gardevoir outspeeds with its Scarf, so I'm forced to heal. Luckily, we survived the second Moonblast on just 6 HP and faint it. Her last 2 Pokemon aren't able to stand up to Psychic, and we win. After conceding defeat, Harmony the gym leader asks us for help in saving her father from a hospital hijacking. In the hospital, we meet Rukra again trying to inject Harmony's father with a virus to try to cure him. She stupidly allows him to, causing her father to mutate into a half-human, half-Deoxys thing. Then, her father Maldi kidnaps Damien and escapes, leaving everyone in awe. After that roller coaster of events, we pass Route 10 and Maelstrom 9 to enter Kepler City. We meet Anastasia, the 5th gym leader, at her laboratory to retrieve her for a gym battle. But when she goes outside, everything has changed. Audrey, the Abyssal cult leader, is causing torrential rainfall with Lugia and is slowly flooding the region. This crisis calls for none other than myself to save everybody, and I head to the Abyssal cult base in Maelstrom 9 to confront Audrey. Upon getting there, we complete some easy puzzles and use Mew's transformation to infiltrate the base with ease. Audrey herself speaks about her plans of raising the sea level and using Kyogre's power to control all sea Pokemon, and that the sea is mostly unexplored, so there should be amazingly powerful beasts down there. We obviously can't let her do that, so we challenge her to a battle of fate. The battle starts the same as the first one. We set up Substitute and use Future Sight and Psychic to kill Lantern. Crawdaunt faints to 1 Psychic after Miracle Eye, and so does her next few Pokemon. Alakazam comes close to killing me, but we survive. And by the time her Primal comes out, 1 Psychic is enough to knock it out. After winning the battle, Malda and Damien show up to try to take the crystal away from Audrey. Damien eventually snatches it from her, and the crystal is the only thing controlling Kyogre, so it escapes and takes Audrey, officially marking the end of the Abyssal cult. Damien seems to be working with Malde now, so we'll have to watch out for him too. After we leave, a strange-looking Giratina cultist appears, but we don't know anything about him. Since that's all done, we can now challenge the 5th gym leader, Anastasia. She tells us not to get cocky because we beat Audrey, but I'm not too worried. She starts off with her Klefki, which misses with Swagger. She switches out to Electivire, giving us a free kill and hubris boost. I misclick and use Psychic on Aegislash, and we come so close to fainting by Shadow Ball. I Hyper Potion up and get a crit to kill the next turn. Klefki faints to Incinerate, and so does her Mega Metagross. And one Psychic is enough to faint the Rotom Wash. We earn our gym badge and follow her down to her workshop where we meet Tyne again. Anastasia seems to have been paid by Tyne to make him Zekrom armor for his ideals. He is impressed by the armor and decides to test it out on us. The battle goes swimmingly and we scare Tyne off once again. In Hecate Town, rumor has it that the Infernal Cult are trying to awaken Groudon in the Fiery Cavern. Turns out it's true, and not only that, but Zenith, the librarian back in Utira Library, is actually their cult leader. After revealing his true identity, he decides to test out skills in a battle. Blaziken comes out first and we can easily kill after 1 Protect. I forgot to teach Incinerate, so 2 Psychics on Excadrill is the best Mewtwo can do. Chandelure holds on with its Focus Sash and uses Trick Room, but he decides to heal and 1 more Psychic faints it. Volcarona outspeeds because of Trick Room, but uses Quiver Dance, so we knock it out too. And he's Mega Magargo had no chance as it's outsped by Mewtwo. Even after beating him, he somehow still manages to summon Groudon and escape, despite all of our efforts. After that, we follow the next route onto Selene City, where we meet the Darkrai cult leader arguing with her sister, which is the gym leader in this city. When we arrive, she turns around ready to leave, but we are standing right there, and she isn't too happy about that. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't have her full team, and that means we can easily defeat her. After the battle, I heal up and head to the gym to take on the 6th gym leader, Diana. To tell the truth, this battle took a lot of thinking and planning. After a few attempts, I realized that what I was doing at that moment just wasn't working. So eventually, I came up with a strategy that made this battle at least consistent. I taught Mewtwo Psych Up with a Heart Scale, and Thunderbolt from a TM. With her first Pokemon, I would try to set up a substitute and psych up her Calm Minds. Luckily for me, this battle I got a crit Psychic to faint the Delta Milotic without hassle. Because of its new ability, Mega Gothitelle is immune to Psychic, so I had to go for Thunderbolts, hence why I taught it. Milotic's cursed body disabled Psychic, and her latter Pokemon resist it, so we are forced to use Thunderbolt for the remainder of the battle. Luckily, with the Hubris boost, that isn't a problem, and we one-shot each of her remaining Pokemon to obtain our badge. After that, we find Tane again atop the Dragon Ruins on the next route, trying to summon the perfect dragon with the Tau Trio. He starts to chant the spell to summon it, but doesn't know the perfect dragon's name, and instead splits them into White Curom and Zekrom to take us on. Luckily, this was a double battle with Nora, so I wouldn't have to worry so much. He starts off with both Metagross and Salamence, while Nora sends out her Leavanny. Mewtwo takes out Salamence with 2 Psychics, while Leavanny sets up Light Screen and then faints. Metagross goes down to a Flare Blitz and Luxray faints to 1 Psychic. Zekrom and Kyurem them come out, but the rest of the battle is a cakewalk, and the rest of his team easily lose to Mewtwo. Once we arrive at the next town, we see that Zenith is holding a speech to the town, instructing them to get a vaccination for this new Deoxys virus. Little do they know that it's just the Infernal Cult taking their DNA for a mind control experiment. In Amphitrite City, we run into Nora and the 7th gym leader. He tells us a bit about himself, and then asks us to check out the Crystal Caves south of the city. We meet up with Nora there, and we find a strange guy with a crown posing to be one of Arceus's chosen ones. He explains everything to us about Mew, and why we are also chosen by Arceus to beat all the cults and save the region. I'm a little razzle-dazzled about this, but I head on up to the next gym. He uses water and dragon types in a rain team, so this should be interesting. He starts with a Helioptile, which goes down to a critical hit Aura Sphere. He's Scarfed Delta Dragonite outspeeds Mewtwo and hits a Wild Charge, and it goes down with a Grass Knot. He's normal Dragonite uses Hurricane, which crits and takes us into the red, but his Life Orb undoes Multi-Scale so Psychic kills. Mega Politoed goes down to Thunderbolt, and Gudra faints to Psychic. His last Pokemon Manaphy also goes down to 1 Thunderbolt to win us the battle. Down at Rose Mountain, we meet Malde and Damien again with Nora. After some negotiating, he creates a ladder for us to get up the mountain, so we wouldn't be spotted by the infernal cult. Turns out, Damien has been completely corrupted by the virus and is helping Malde with his plans. Nora vows to help him and they leave. After a long trek through the crater and Mount Rose, we manage to reach the infernal cult base inside a volcano. As soon as we enter the base, we get caught and put into individual cells. Zenith tries to take our DNA, but is distracted midway by a loud noise. We use this opportunity to beat the cultist guarding us and escape our cell. With Mew's transformation, we disguise ourselves as a cultist and head up to where Zenith is. The 7th gym leader and I then try to ambush him just as he starts his interview, but he gets pitfalled by a hidden door, and we are left to challenge Zenith again with his Groudon and Heatran. He starts off with an Excadrill, which gets obliterated by Flamethrower, and his Chandelure goes down to 1 Psychic. Mega Blaziken uses Protect to activate Speed Boost, but he switches out to Heatran to take the incoming Psychic. 1 more Aura Sphere is enough to KO Heatran. Blaziken faints to 1 Psychic, and so does his Volcarona. Primal Groudon also can't stand up to a single Psychic to give us a first-try victory. After the battle, Zenith slumps on the table in awe and can't believe we beat him, but out of nowhere, the Oracle from Utira Library appears and reveals that the prophecy was fake. She also says that she was hired by someone to do all of this, and we'll find out who soon enough. Back at the Darkrai cult base, Persephone is planning to force Darkrai to join her by holding Cresselia hostage. Malde and Damien then arrive trying to stop her, but she orders Darkrai to send us all to the Dream World. Darkrai ends up also sending her there as well, and she challenges us to a battle. Her Mega Spirit Ohm looks like something straight from a nightmare. Thank God this isn't real. I'm able to set up 3 Calm Minds on it, and then kill with Flamethrower. Houndoom is an easy one-shot with Aura Sphere, and Metagross goes down to Flamethrower. Hydreigon also goes down to Aura Sphere, while her Gengar faints to Flamethrower. After the battle, we continue exploring through the Dream World, but Malde has had enough, and he wants to finish us here. Damien now has a Deoxys on his team, which he sends out first. Deoxys is faster, but can't do much to us, so after setting up Calm Mind, we faint it easily. Everything else on his team is a joke, so Mewtwo breezes through that, and we make our way further down the Dream World. After some exploring, we find ourselves a fully functioning gym somehow, so we head there. But when we reach the leader, he turns out to be the first augur of this region before Jern, and also our long-lost father. If we beat him in a battle, we can find a way out of here. He starts off with a Spiritomb, and we both use Calm Mind. Mewtwo uses Substitute next to nullify his Will-O-Wisp. I continue to spam Substitute to waste his Noctum, and after a few more turns, we are able to kill with Flamethrower. I'm expecting a Sucker Punch from Bisharp, so I click Substitute again, but it uses Swords Dance, so the next turn we can one-shot. Roserade goes down to a single Flamethrower. Then I heal Mewtwo up on Greninja. The next turn, after taking a Dark Pulse, Greninja faints to Aura Sphere. His next 3 Pokemon, including a new Mega Hydreigon, all go down to single Aura Spheres to win us the battle. After the battle, he helps us escape the Dream World through one of his Hoopa's interdimensional rings. Once we get back to the normal world, Nora calls us asking for help because she was kidnapped by those strange Giratina cultists. We follow her trail to the Crystal Caves, but Jern is waiting for us, claiming that we have ruined his reputation. Even with a Mega Rayquaza and his full team, he still gets swept by Mewtwo and a few Calm Minds. Further in the cave, we follow a series of hyperspace holes through various regions to end up at a weird space road. At the end of this road, the leader of the Giratina cultists, Nyx, is waiting for us. Nyx explains that he was the mastermind behind everything. From the creation of the cults to the downfall of the first augur, he was the one behind it all. He then challenges us to a battle trying to win the crystals to finish summoning Giratina. This battle is also quite interesting as the type matchups are inverted. So for example, an Aura Sphere on this Aurorus would be 4x ineffective. After a few turns of Calm Mind and him spamming full restores, we are able to faint his first Pokemon. Mega Kangaskhan succumbs to one Psychic, and super effective Flamethrower 1 shots his Greninja. Flamethrower knocks out Garchomp, and Breloom goes down to an Aura Sphere, while his last Pokemon faints to one more Psychic. After the battle, all the Giratina cultists disappear, and we are congratulated by Nora and the guy with the crown for beating the world's greatest threat and saving the region. After trekking through the longest victory road I've ever experienced, I prep Mewtwo up to face the final 5 trainers of this challenge, the Elite Four and Champion. The first Elite Four we face is Kayla, the Baton Pass specialist. Smeargle comes out first, and Mewtwo uses Substitute to nullify Spore. 1 Calm Mind and 2 Aura Spheres later Smeargle faints. Mega Slowbro is a bit more challenging. We both use Calm Mind, and then I use 2 Psy Strikes and an Aura Sphere to kill. Blaziken survives on its Sash, and then Baton passes to Scissor, which gets 1 shot by Aura Sphere. And her last 2 Pokemon, Espeon and Sylveon, both go down to 1 Psy Strike each. Yuki, the Hail Specialist, is next. After researching a bit on her team, I decide to teach Mewtwo the TM's Drain Punch and bulk up. Her first Pokemon Mamoswine hits us with a few Earthquakes, but Mewtwo is able to set up 2 bulk ups and still has over half HP because of Drain Punch. I set up 2 more bulk ups on her Delta Scizor and then regain more health with Drain Punch. Choice Scarfed Rotom Fridge hits a Volt Switch, leaving Starmie to take the Drain Punch. After we very narrowly dodge fainting by Surf, Starmie goes down to Psy Strike the next turn. Luckily, Blizzard misses from Rotom and we can regain health and 1 shot with Drain Punch. Mewtwo survives Freeze Dry from her Mega Cryogonal, and it goes down to another Drain Punch. And her last Pokemon, Delta Trevenant, goes down to 1 Psy Strike. Damn, what a close battle indeed. 2 down and 2 to go. The next Elite Four is Edward, the Sandstorm Specialist. He starts off with a Hippowdon with Sandstream. What I figured was that if I could waste some turns with Protect, this battle would be much easier. Luckily, I hit the 2 first ones, and then used 2 Psychics to kill Hippowdon. Delta Hydreigon, which looks amazing by the way, faints to 1 Psychic and Flamethrower one-shots Aegislash. Excadrill also goes down to Flamethrower, and so does his new Mega Cacturne. Garchomp can't stand up to Psychic, winning us the battle. The last Elite Four member is London, the Trick Room Specialist. He starts off with Mega Reuniclus, which sets up Trick Room automatically because of its new ability. We both use Calm Mind the first turn, then I use Protect to waste Trick Room. Its Shadow Ball takes Mewtwo into the red while Dark Pulse is doing just over half. I use Protect to finish off Trick Room, then Outspeed and kill with Dark Pulse. With the Hubris boost, Marowak goes down to 1 Psychic, and Delta Aggron faints to Dark Pulse. Delta Galurk and Togekiss both go down to 1 Psychic each. While her last Pokemon, Jellicent, can't stand up to a Dark Pulse, winning us the battle. That's all of the Elite Four members defeated, so now we're able to challenge the champion. Turns out the champion all along was actually Rukra, the man who started this journey by giving us our starter, and also the last obstacle in our way of beating this challenge and becoming the champion of Pokémon Insurgence. He starts off with an armored Tyranitar, which looks so cool. Mewtwo uses Calm Mind and Tyranitar Dragon Dances. We still outspeed and hit Focus Blast to feint it. Mega Flygon is a 1-hit with Psychic, and so is his Kyurem Black. There's actually a speed tie for his Shadow Mewtwo, but we luckily win it and kill with Focus Blast. I was a bit unsure which move to use, but Focus Blast hits again to send his Delta Volcarona back to its Pokeball. His last Pokemon, Delta Haxorus, succumbs to 1 Thunderbolt, giving us the last and final win of this challenge. And with that, we've proven that it is possible to solo run one of the hardest Pokemon fan games out there. This video took a lot of effort to make, considering I don't usually make videos like this, and it's definitely much appreciated if you could subscribe and even like the video to help out. Please leave a comment down below if you like this video, as any feedback would be helpful. Also, don't forget to check out my channel page for more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.